Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. Whether you're here seeking clarity, inspiration, or a deeper connection with the power of your thoughts, you're in the right place. Now, before we begin, I want to take a moment to wish a heartfelt Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and mother figures with us today. Your love, your strength, and nurturing spirit are living examples of the power of thought in action. Shaping lives and futures with care and intention, we honor and celebrate you tonight. I would also like to excuse the professor as he is enjoying Mother's Day with his family, and I certainly want to wish him well. Today, we'll continue our journey through James Allen's timeless work, As a Man Thinketh. This little book, packed with profound truth, reminds us that our outer lives are a direct reflection of our inner world. What we consistently think about, we eventually bring to life. In chapter 1, Allen lays the foundation for his central thesis: a person's character is the direct result of their thoughts. He emphasizes that just as a plant springs from a seed, so does every action, habit, and character trait spring from thought. Allen argues that man is the master of his character and destiny, and that by controlling his thoughts, he can shape his life. While external circumstances may influence a person, it is ultimately the inner thought life that determines one's true nature and outcomes. In chapters 2 and 3, we'll explore the themes of effect of thought on circumstances and effect of thought on health in the body. These chapters are powerful because they confront one of the most life-changing truths you'll ever embrace. We are not victims of circumstance. We are creators of it. So as you listen, don't just hear the words, absorb them. Let them challenge you. Let them stir something in you. And above all, let them remind you that no matter where you are right now, a new reality begins with a new thought. Let's dive in. Effective thought on circumstances. Man's mind may be likened to a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. But whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth fruit. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of weed seeds will fall therein and will continue to produce their kind. As a gardener cultivates his plot, keeping it free from weeds while growing fruits and flowers, let's change this. We're not supposed to have any ads here. Apologize for that. As a gardener cultivates his plot, keeping it free from weeds while growing fruits and flowers, so may a man tend the garden of his mind, weeding out all the wrong, useless, and impure thoughts, cultivating toward perfection the flowers and fruits of right, useful, and pure thoughts. By pursuing this process, a man sooner or later discovers that he is the master gardener of his soul, the director of his life. He also reveals within himself the laws of thought and understands with ever increasing accuracy how the thought forces and mind elements operate in the shaping of his character, circumstances, and destiny. Thought and character are one. The outer conditions of a person's life will always be found to be harmoniously related to his inner state. This does not mean that a man's circumstances at any given time are an indication of his entire character, but that those circumstances are so intimately connected with some vital thought element within him that for the time being, they are indispensable to his development. Every man is where he is by the law of his being. The thoughts which he has built into his character have brought him there, and in the arrangement of his life, there is no element of chance, but all is the result of a law which cannot err. This is just as true of those who feel out of harmony with their surroundings as those who are contented with them. As a progressive and evolving being, man is where he is, that he may learn, that he may grow, and as he learns the spiritual lesson which each circumstance contains for him, it passes away and gives place to other circumstances from which he may learn and grow. Man is buffeted by circumstances so long as he believes himself to be controlled by outside conditions. But when he realizes that he is the creator and that he may command the hidden soil and seeds from which his circumstances grow, he then becomes the rightful master of himself. Every man who has for any length of time practiced self-control and self-purification knows that circumstances grow from thoughts, for he will have noticed that the alteration in his circumstances has been in exact proportion with his altered mental condition. So true is this that when a man earnestly applies himself to remedy the defects in his character and make swift and marked progress, he passes rapidly through a succession of vicissitudes. The soul attracts that which it secretly harbors, that which it loves, and also that which it fears. It reaches the height of its cherished aspirations and falls to the level of its unchastened desires. And circumstances are the means by which the soul reaps the harvest of its own thinking. Every thought seed sown or allowed to fall into the mind and to take root therein produces its own blossoming sooner or later into acts. And bearing the fruits of opportunity and circumstance, good thoughts bear good fruit, bad thoughts, bad fruit. The outer world of circumstance is shaped by the inner world of thought, and both pleasant and unpleasant external conditions are factors which make for the ultimate good of the individual because man learns by both suffering and bliss. Following the innermost desires, aspirations, and thoughts by which he allows himself to be dominated, be they impure imaginations or steadfastly thinking thoughts of strong and high endeavor, a man at last arrives at their fruition and fulfillment in the outer conditions of his life. The law of reaping what he sows everywhere he obtains. A man does not come to the almshouse or the jail by the tyranny of fate or circumstance, but by the pathway of groveling thoughts and base desires. Nor does a pure-minded man fall suddenly into crime by stress of any mere external force. The criminal thought had long been secretly fostered in the heart, and the hour of opportunity revealed its gathered power. Circumstance does not make the man, it reveals him to himself. No such conditions can exist as descending into vice and its attendant sufferings apart from vicious inclinations or ascending into virtue and its pure happiness without the continued cultivation of virtuous aspirations. Man, therefore, as the Lord and master of thought, is the maker of himself and the author and creator of environment. Even at birth, the soul comes to its own, and through every step of its earthly pilgrimage, it attracts those conditions which are the reflections of its own purity and impurity, its own strength and weakness. Men do not attract that which they want, but that which they are. Their whims are fancies, and ambitions are thwarted by their innermost thoughts. And in spite of their desires, they reap the fruits of their thinking, be it foul or clean. Give me just a minute. I'm going to mute a couple people. The divinity that shapes our minds is within ourselves. It is our very self. The thoughts and actions are the jailers of fate. Man forges his own manacles by impure and ignoble thoughts. Being base, they imprison. But thoughts and actions are also the angels of freedom. Being noble, they liberate. Not what he wishes and prays for does a man get, but what he justly earns. His wishes and prayers are only gratified and answered when they harmonize with his thoughts and actions. In the light of this truth, what then is the meaning of fighting against circumstances? It means that a man is continually revolting against an effect without, while all the time he is preserving and nourishing its cause in his heart. That cause may take the form of a conscious vice or an unconscious weakness, but whatever it is, it stubbornly retards the efforts of he who possesses it, and thus calls aloud for remedy. Men are anxious to improve circumstances, but unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. But the man who does not shrink from self-crucifixion will always accomplish the object upon which his heart is set. This is as true of earthly as of heavenly things. Even the man whose sole object is to acquire wealth must be prepared to make great personal sacrifices before he can accomplish his object. And how much more so he would realize a strong and well-poised life. Here is a man who is wretchedly poor. He is extremely anxious that his surroundings and home comfort should be improved, yet all the time he shirks his work and considers he is justified in trying to deceive his employer on the ground of the insufficiency of his wages. Such a man does not understand the simplest rudiments of those principles which are the basis of true prosperity. And it is not only totally unfitted to rise out of his wretchedness, but is actually attracting to himself a still deeper wretchedness by dwelling in and acting out indolent, deceptive, and unmanly thoughts. Here is a rich man who is the victim of a painful and persistent disease as the result of gluttony. He is willing to give large sums of money to get rid of it, but he will not sacrifice his gluttonous desires. He wants to gratify his taste for rich and unnatural viands and have his health as well. Such a man is totally unfit to have health because he has not yet learned the first principles of a healthy life. Here is an employer who adopts crooked measures to avoid paying the regulation wage, and in the hope of making larger profits, reduces the wages of his workpeople. Such a man is altogether unfitted for prosperity, and when he finds himself bankrupt, both as regards to reputation and riches, he blames circumstances, not knowing that he is the sole author of his condition. I have introduced these three cases merely as illustrative of the truth that man is the causer, though nearly always unconsciously, of his circumstances, and that while aiming at a good end, he is continually frustrating its accomplishment by encouraging thoughts and desires which cannot possibly harmonize with that end. Such cases could be multiplied and varied almost indefinitely, but this is not necessary, as the reader can, if he so resolves, trace the action of the laws of thought in his own mind and life. And until this is done, mere external facts cannot serve as a ground of reasoning. Circumstances, however, are so complicated, thought is so deeply rooted, and the conditions of happiness vary so vastly with individuals that a man's entire soul condition, although it may be known to himself, cannot be judged by another from the external aspect of his life alone. A man may be honest in certain directions, yet suffer privations. A man may be dishonest in certain directions, yet acquire wealth. But the conclusion usually formed that the one man fails because of his particular honesty and that the other prospers because of his particular dishonesty is the result of a superficial judgment which assumes that the dishonest man is almost totally corrupt and the honest man almost entirely virtuous. In the light of a deeper knowledge and wider experience, such judgment is found to be erroneous. The dishonest man may have some admirable virtues which the other man does not possess, and the honest man obnoxious vices which are absent in the other. The honest man reaps the good results of his honest thoughts and acts. He also brings upon himself the suffering which his vices produce. The dishonest man likewise garners his own suffering and happiness. It is pleasing to human vanity to believe that one suffers because of one's virtues, but not until a man has extirpated every sickly, bitter, and impure thought from his mind and washed every sinful stain from his soul can he be in a position to know and declare that his sufferings are the result of his good and not of his bad qualities. And on the way to, and yet long before he has reached that supreme perfection, he will have found, working in his mind and life, the great law which is absolutely just and which cannot, therefore, give good for evil, evil for good. Possessed of such knowledge, he will then know, looking back upon his past ignorance and blindness, that his life is and always was justly ordered, and that all his past experiences, good and bad, were the equitable outworking of his evolving yet unevolved self. Good thoughts and actions can never produce bad results. Bad thoughts and actions can never produce good results. This is but saying that nothing can come from corn but corn, nothing from nettles but nettles. Men understand this law in the natural world and work with it, but few understand it in the mental and moral world, though its operation there is just as simple and undeviating, and they therefore do not cooperate with it. Suffering is always the effect of wrong thought in some direction. It is an indication that the individual is out of harmony with himself, with the law of his being. The sole and supreme use of suffering is to purify, to burn out all that is useless and impure. Suffering ceases for him who is pure. There could be no object in burning gold after the dross has been removed, and a perfectly pure and enlightened being could not suffer. The circumstances which a man encounters with suffering are the result of his own mental inharmony. The circumstances which a man encounters with blessedness are the result of his own mental harmony. Blessedness, not material possessions, is the measure of right thought. Wretchedness, not lack of material possessions, is the measure of wrong thought. A man may be cursed and rich. He may be blessed and poor. Blessedness and riches are only joined together when the riches are rightly and wisely used. The poor man only descends into wretchedness when he regards his lot as a burden unjustly imposed. Indigence and indulgence are the two extremes of wretchedness. They are both equally unnatural and the result of mental disorder. A man is not rightfully conditioned until he is happy, healthy, and prosperous being, and happiness, health, and prosperity are the result of a harmonious adjustment of the inner with the outer, of the man with his surroundings. A man only begins to be a man when he ceases to whine and revile, and commences to search for the hidden justice which regulates his life. And he adapts his mind to that regulating factor. He ceases to accuse others as the cause of his condition, and builds himself up in strong and noble thoughts, ceases to kick against circumstances, but begins to use them as aids to his more rapid progress and as a means of discovering the hidden powers and possibilities within himself. Law, not confusion, is the dominating principle in the universe. Justice, not injustice, is the soul and substance of life. And righteousness, not corruption, is the molding and moving force in the spiritual government of the world. This being so, man has but to right himself to find that the universe is right, and during the process of putting himself right, he will find that as he alters his thoughts toward things and other people will alter towards him. The proof of this truth is in every person, and it therefore admits of easy investigation by systematic introspection and self-analysis. Let a man radically alter his thoughts, and he will be astonished at the rapid transformation it will effect in the material conditions of his life. Men imagine that thought can be kept secret, but it cannot. It rapidly crystallizes into habit, and habit solidifies into circumstance. Bestial thoughts crystallize into habits of drunkenness and sensuality, which solidify into circumstances of destitution and disease. Impure thoughts of every kind crystallize into enervating and confusing habits, which solidify into distracting and adverse circumstances. Thoughts of fear, doubt, and indecision crystallize into weak, unmanly, and unresolute habits, which solidify into circumstances of failure, indulgence, and slavish independence. Lazy thoughts crystallize into habits of uncleanliness and dishonesty, which solidify into circumstances of foulness and beggary. Hateful and condemnatory thoughts crystallize into habits of accusation and violence, which solidify into circumstances of injury and persecution. Selfish thoughts of all kinds crystallize into habits of self-seeking, which solidify into circumstances more or less distressing. On the other hand, beautiful thoughts of all kinds crystallize into habits of grace and kindliness, which solidify into genial and sunny circumstances. Pure thoughts crystallize into habits of temperance and self-control, which solidify into circumstances of repose and peace. Thoughts of courage, self-reliance, and decision crystallize into manly habits which solidify into circumstances of success, plenty, and freedom. Energetic thoughts crystallize into habits of cleanliness and industry, which solidify into circumstances of pleasantness. Gentle and forgiving thoughts crystallize into habits of gentleness, which solidify into protective and preservative circumstances. Loving and unselfish thoughts crystallize into habits of self-forgetfulness for others, which solidify into circumstances of sure and abiding prosperity and true riches. A particular train of thought persisted in, be it good or bad, cannot fail to produce its results on the character and circumstances. A man cannot directly choose his circumstances, but he can choose his thoughts, and so indirectly, yet surely, shape his circumstances. Nature helps every man to the gratification of the thoughts which he most encourages, and opportunities are presented which will most speedily bring to the surface both the good and evil thoughts. Let a man cease from his sinful thoughts, and all the world will soften towards him and be ready to help him. Let him put away his weakly and sickly thoughts, and lo, opportunities will spring up on every hand to aid his strong resolves. Let him encourage good thoughts, and no hard fate shall bind him down to wretchedness and shame. The world is your kaleidoscope, and the varying combinations of colors which at every succeeding moment it presents to you are the exquisitely adjusted pictures of your ever-moving thoughts. So you will be what you will be. Let failure find its false content in that word environment, but spirit scorns it and is free. It masters time, it conquers space, it cows that boastful trickster chance, and bids the tyrant circumstance uncrown and fill a servant's place. The human will, that force unseen, the offspring of a deathless soul, can hew a way to any goal, though walls of granite intervene. Be not impatient in delays, but wait as one who understands. When spirit rises and commands, the gods are ready to obey. I think we'll stop there. I was going to go on to chapter 2, but that ended up being a longer chapter than I thought. We might take a few minutes if anybody would like to share, have any thoughts or questions. Let's go ahead and take a few minutes. You could, I think, go to, maybe all you have to do is unmute. I'm not sure. Raise your hand, maybe. Anybody like to share a thought or question? Okay, well, let's go ahead and close then. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. This is the first book I ever read cover to cover. Many long years ago, a small book I found on my father's bookshelf. I don't even remember how old I was. It would have been young teens. But I picked it up and just, something grabbed me and I read it through. Uh, I've read the book a number of times. I've listened to the audio numerous times. It just never grows old. There's every time, every time I read it or listen to it, something new pops out. And the truths here are just, I just can't imagine how he's condensed so much, into one short volume. It's absolutely incredible. But, just to recap, you know, what a rich and eye-opening journey we've had today, going through chapter 2. James Allen has shown us that our circumstances are not random. They're reflections of our inner state. Our thoughts shape our environment, our relationships, our finances, and even our physical health. When we think with clarity, faith, and purpose, we create conditions that mirror those very qualities. When we harbor fear, doubt, or resentment, we unknowingly invite struggle and limitation. In chapter 3, Alan reminds us that our bodies are the servant of our minds. Peaceful thoughts bring vitality, grateful thoughts bring healing, but worry, bitterness, and anger will over time manifest as disease. So the question we leave with today is this: what are you planting in the garden of your mind? Because whatever it is, that's what will grow. And as we go into the week ahead, I encourage you to take ownership of your inner dialogue. Choose thoughts that align with the life you desire, not the one you fear. Speak life, think abundance, expect goodness. Looks like we have one hand up. Go ahead, Dr. K.
Hey, John, good evening, everybody.
Good
Happy
evening.
Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. And we all have mothers. So happy Mother's Day to your mother. So I have been with John for 40 years in his first company, Shop Fremont, an incredible opportunity. He's the only honest, sincere owner that I have met and worked with him. I have been in the blockchain industry. We made mistakes, and that's how we learn. For the last, I don't know how many years since I bought Bitcoin at 14 cents, and I played with it, and I'm just discovering my wallets have money, and I'm just opening them and realizing the growth from 14 cents. Bitcoin now is 103. So, guys, you reap the benefits when you sow it. So, don't reinvent the wheel. The wheel has been invented. My job is to go connect with people. Dr. KISS system, keep it simple, successful. If you are within 2 feet with me, you're going to share and know what I am doing. So when I go fishing and I make myself available, I go to events like this week, and I went to an event in Nashville, and there was hundreds of people there and leaders that I haven't met for a while. Unfortunately, I was in a coma 4 years ago, 4 days, 4 months, and God saved my life. And I made myself available. I told God I will help people's health and wealth. So I go fishing with a net. There are small fish, medium fish, and big fish. You never know. But one of the great leaders I met this weekend, Elisa, she's here tonight. I don't talk too much. I put her on a three-way with my upline, who happened to be John, of course. And she saw the opportunity, saw the video. She wants in. She registered. And I invited her and John to this Zoom call tonight. And here she is trying to decide which plan she wants to go in for. So we are excited when you guys bring new people, new blood. Just share with them and don't pressure them to do whatever you think is good. Let them decide. And that's how I did with Elisa. And she's deciding after she sees this meeting, and we're going to have a nice meeting with her later. But again, guys, John has been an honest, sincere man for a long time. Maybe you don't know him, but doesn't matter. Don't Don't make it too difficult. Life is too short to drink cheap wine. So keep it simple. Go and share with the opportunity. And I asked John when he came to me, I said, show me the money. It's too good to be true, but you never know. So what if this one right? And this is right. And I've been getting some checks, amazing checks. And believe me, this thing is the best thing ever happened in my life for the next many, many years. There's nothing even close to this opportunity. And I was in a convention of another company. I shared it with the owner. He wants to look into it. He asked me to meet with John, and we sent him a video to look at it. A simple video. He want to understand before he want to meet John. And then we're going to have a meeting, and who knows? Again, about 100,000 people can come under one person, and you never know who you know. Just share the opportunity with everyone who comes within 2 feet from you. Don't be afraid. I have thousands of contacts in the last month or so. So what I decided to do, hire high school students, 20 of them. They're gonna meet me and come after school for 2 hours. And how we're gonna pay them is simple. We're gonna join them in the company and let them get the earnings of the huge earnings they will dream of. So 20 people coming to put other people under the whole network I have. So guys, I appreciate you. John, I cannot say thank you. I'm indebted to you for life, buddy. And thank you
Well,
again. And
thank you,
good
Dr.
night.
K.
You're welcome.
Okay, and yeah, I'd like to welcome Elisa with us here tonight. Just met her earlier today. Look forward to meeting again, having a meeting with her and Dr. K. But I want to thank all of you for joining us today. You know, may the seeds planted in your spirit bear fruit in your life, and may your thoughts become a source of power, peace, and prosperity. Till next time, stay encouraged, stay intentional, and remember, as you think, so shall you be. Good night and God bless.
Good night.